Hey, I am so excited to have Shawn Washburn here with me today. And we're going to just spend a few minutes together talking about the Stretch Men group and some of the things that go around that. And I've asked Shawn to jump on and kind of be like an interviewer for me. And just really, we're going to have a conversation. We're going to talk about the Stretch Men group. We're going to talk about a lot of other things related to being a man, being a husband, being a father. And I'm excited about this. I'm gonna I'm gonna introduce Shawn just a little bit from my friendship side of Shawn, because Shawn and I have known each other for over 20 years now. We actually went to college
Yeah,
together, and we connected again recently thanks to our creative minds. And it's been cool to converse with each other and to encourage each other. And I am just really excited to have Shawn here to talk about what we're going to talk about today.
hey, it's great to be here, John. Looking forward to it.
So Shawn, tell my listening audience a little bit more about who you are.
All right. I'm a father, husband. I've been married for, it's going to be 20 years this coming year. So I've got a great wife, and we have three kids. We got three teenage boys. Well, two teenage boys and a tween is 11. And then we have a 3-year-old girl. So the question we always get is, surprise. Not really. We surprised as far as the time between our son and our daughter, but we always felt like we wanted, at least a fourth kid, and just things worked out that God brought her when He did, and she's a joy, and she's got 4 dads around the house with my boys. So I'm an engineer by trade. I also love to write. I love coaching. Coach my boys with sports, mostly football and basketball. We're getting Eden ready when she's old enough to get in our flag football league. So she's going to have like 4 coaches who are getting her ready. And I also love just working with dads. I've been involved with a group called All Pro Dad since about 2010. And they're a great national organization where we host breakfasts at kids' schools each month. And there's about 1,500 chapters that meet every month across the country. So I've loved being a part of that. I don't lead a chapter myself now, but I work with guys in our Cleveland area to help new schools get started and just support guys there in that. So, yeah, that's a little bit about me.
So you reminded me, you're from the Cleveland area, and while I live in the Philadelphia area, I'm originally from the Chicago area. So we probably didn't get along or talk very much this fall when the Cubs beat up on the Indians there in the World Series, huh?
Hey, beat up, it went down to, I actually, I loved it. I thought it was a great series. It was a classic. Obviously would have loved it. Indians could pull it off, but it was one that I really enjoyed watching, and good for the Cubs. I really liked a lot of those guys. They seem like good guys. So better than, losing to like the Yankees or someone like that.
Yeah, that's true. It's cool. I just celebrated a birthday, and for my birthday, my wife got me a Ben Zobrist Cubs jersey.
Oh, cool.
So I'm pretty excited about that. It was just kind of one of those things. I don't follow sports nearly like I used to, just because of the responsibilities of life and everything. But with the Cubs getting back in there, it was hard for me not to pay attention. So
Yeah.
So a little bit more about me. I know that a lot of guys who may be watching know me through my blog, John Stolpe Stretched, and maybe they know me through Facebook or other means. But I am also a father, and I have 2 teenage kids. My daughter is 19. She's just in her freshman year at Messiah College. And my son is 16. He just got his driver's license, and we're going down that path right now. I've been married for a little over 20 years. We celebrated our 20th anniversary in the summer. We were actually in Guatemala when our anniversary hit. So we went away a couple weeks before. We went to Guatemala just to celebrate, just the 2 of us. But I have a wonderful wife, Leanne, and she's definitely on board with trying to be intentional in how we parent our kids. I would have to say that a lot of my parenting skills have been pressed and tweaked and encouraged because of my marriage to Leanne. She's been a great parent, a great encouragement, and a great partner as we go about things in life and in marriage and whatnot. I am also an engineer. I work for a construction company in the Philadelphia area, and I actually don't do any engineering anymore, or very little. I manage a group of engineers, and we get to install building automation all over the eastern Pennsylvania, southern New Jersey, and northern Delaware area. And I've been doing this since I graduated from Grove City College, where we first met. I like it. It definitely keeps my brain going. Again, not doing as much of the engineering right now, but I love the fact that I get to help people succeed. And it's kind of cool because I feel like that's crossing over into the Stretched Men group, because that provides me another opportunity to help people succeed when it comes to being a man and being the best parent and best spouse they can be. I write, as I mentioned before. So somewhere, I think 9.5 years ago, I had a friend encourage me to take up blogging. And I started John Stolpe Stretched. It originally resided, I think, at Blogspot. And eventually I bought my own domain, johnstolpe.com. And it's been a great place for me to connect with people from really all over the world and to process what I'm stretching through on a daily basis, but also to encourage others to stretch in different areas like leadership and faith and marriage and parenting and missions too. That's been a focus for the last several years. So those are some of the things that I'm up to. I've also written a book, On Track, Life Lessons from the Track and Field. And that was kind of a cool project that I did about 2.5 years ago. It feels like I've got other book projects that are in my head or in some process of progress. So we'll see. That may be something that I do eventually down the road. So there you have it. You know a little bit more about me.
Yeah, the book is great. It was as someone who ran track, I had a kind of natural affinity for that, and I loved how you pulled out different life lessons in there. It was really cool to read.
Well, thank you. It was a cool project. My kids were probably one of my biggest inspirations to go through that book and to write that. So at any rate, we can talk a lot about ourselves, and I'm sure that there's plenty more that we could share, and maybe that'll come out through some of our conversation. But I really wanted to take some time to talk with you and talk to whoever's listening about the Stretched Men group and what is a mastermind. I've had that question several times over the last several weeks as we've been launching the new website. By the way, the website is www.stretchedmengroup.com, and it's a great place where you can go and find out more about the group. You can sign up for getting more information. When you sign up, you're not committing to joining the group, although I'd love to have you in the group. But you're committing to having me reach out to you and hopefully connect where we can talk one-on-one about the group and about where you're at and where you want to be as a man. So Shawn, have you heard of the mastermind concept before?
It's pretty new to me. I know I heard about it a little through you in the last couple of years, and then I've seen it kind of popping up. I like the idea. It kind of was trying to, for me, I know it's kind of like, okay, well, what's the difference between that and just, guys getting together or whatever. And so, but the more I've seen it pop up and the more I've seen, groups forming with different guys that I follow or listen to, I can see the value of that, especially with that smaller group. People want to be involved. I want to be involved in small groups where you feel like you're connecting and someone is investing more in you, especially when it's someone that has a lot to offer that you're looking for, and has been down the path before, whether it's entrepreneurship or fatherhood or whatever. I think there's a lot of value in that.
Yeah, it's funny. I had been thinking about joining a mastermind group for a while before I actually joined my first mastermind group a couple years ago. I've been involved in small group ministry for a long time at our church, and I definitely believe that we were meant for community. And I think that there's nothing quite like face-to-face interaction and that happens in a small group type environment. And there probably are several face-to-face mastermind groups, but the concept that I've kind of been going with and what I've experienced is a group of people who kind of want to go after similar goals, but want to be want to be stretched. Of course, I love to use that metaphor.
Yeah.
I joined my first mastermind group as a result of kind of wanting to sort through where I was going with some of my creative side, some of my writing, some of my potential speaking. And so I signed up with a guy named Ellery Wells. And, we initially just had some conversation, and then I talked to my wife about it, and we decided to give it a go. So I've been actually doing that for a year and a half now. And it's really been encouraging. It's been a challenge for me to process through some of the stuff that I need to process, but then to come up with a list of where I want to be, a list of what steps I'm going to need to get to there, and then to have the accountability that I need to actually follow through on it. And the initial mastermind concept, I think, it's given credit to Napoleon Hill. He's the author of Think and Grow Rich. But it's somewhere along the line, he is noted as the father of the mastermind concept. And the idea is that you would pull people together, and I can think about things, but when I get other people together to think about the same thing with me, we're going to be able to come up with much bigger ideas, much more solid action plans. We're going to be able to take ourselves to places we never would have dreamed of if we were just doing it by ourselves.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the reasons I'm excited about being in a mastermind, but also facilitating a mastermind that's all about helping men take the next step and grow to the next level. Jim Rohn has a great quote: "You are the average of the 5 people who you hang around with the most." I don't know if that's the exact quote, but I know it's pretty close to that. And the whole idea behind the mastermind is that you are raising the bar on the people you are hanging with, so that you are elevated as well.
Yeah.
I think that for me, this mastermind group is one of the outcomes of my own mastermind that I'm in with Ellery. But it's also kind of it's the outgrowth of some of the conversation I've had over time with people. I've had many guys come up to me and say, "Hey, John, would you be willing to mentor me? Would you be willing to meet with me one-on-one?" And that's pretty cool, but it's humbling too, because I'm like, wow, I'm not the perfect dad. I'm not the perfect husband. I've got junk in my trunk that I've got to sort through, and I haven't figured it all out. But I also feel that there's some sort of responsibility that I have to be a mentor of some sort. And this mastermind provides me that opportunity to impact men on a broader base, but still fit in the confines of what my life will allow. That makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you, with the mastermind that you joined, what would you say, how has that benefited you in ways that you wouldn't have been able to, what have you been able to achieve, or direction you've been able to get, or whatever, that you wouldn't have been able to do on your own because there's, for me, I look and there's there's all the information you could ever want is out on the internet. You can go find resources for free on anything. But then I think there comes a point where, what do you do with it then? Or how do you know which direction to go? There's all these different paths. So what have you found with your own experience as far as the value of the mastermind that you were in?
I think for some, it helps sift through some of that. It provides some clarity on maybe the steps that I need to take, or the resources I should really concentrate on looking at, instead of doing a Google search for how to be a better man and come up with 15 million entries. Where do you even start?
Yeah.
For me, it's helped to bring clarity to some of the things that I wanted to do, but didn't necessarily have all the tools in place and didn't know exactly where to look. And so that has helped tremendously. the group I'm with Ellery is an entrepreneurial focused mastermind. So it's really helpful to rub shoulders with other people who are entrepreneurial in mindset. I don't even know if that's a word, but we'll go with it. But these are people who are going through the ups and downs of being an entrepreneur. They are struggling with, confidence in themselves, and they are struggling with, should I go after this idea? And it's just been helpful to have a group of people who are surrounding me, who know what that feels like, have either gone through it, are going to go through it, or they already went through it, and now they can pull me along and say, hey, I've done this before. Let's go here to a new place. Don't waste your time and energy and your mental stamina on this. Let's move the bar over to here and process it from this point. So I've done a few things through that group. I launched the 7-week stretch challenge on my blog. I probably wouldn't have done that or couldn't have done that without the mastermind group that I'm in. Really encouraged to take some steps in my own writing. I'm working on a couple book projects as a result of that mastermind group. And then really this mastermind group, the Stretched Men group, is really an outgrowth of that. I'm sure I would not be doing this without the encouragement of my mastermind group with Ellery.
That's cool.
So one of the things I'm excited about with the Stretched Men group and the whole thing of launching that, I've had some people who are asking me about it. They're curious about it. Some people get it right away, and other people, maybe haven't heard of the concept of mastermind, but they're curious. They want to be better men. There are some guys who are like, so it's going to cost me this much a month, and trying to walk them through that and why there's a cost associated with it. And that's part of what I wanted to talk to you about as well, because we've been talking about this offline, but I think we decided that it would be really helpful to just have a conversation about it, because you're a real guy, I'm a real guy, and we get that we're trying to make sure that we are doing the right thing, that we're spending our time wisely, but we're distracted by a million things. Our kids are pulling us in all kinds of different directions, and we're involved in our churches and in our jobs. And we've got financial responsibilities to our families as well, and spending $97 a month is something that is serious. If you're going to spend $97 a month, you better get something out of it, right?
Yeah. Well, and like we were talking about offline, right now, if I know, I'm a pretty frugal guy. We're both pretty, pretty good with trying to analyze things and see if it's worth our money to spend money. I don't know anyone who just has as much money as they want and they just go out and spend it on whatever. So you want to analyze, is this thing going to either save me time, or is it going to be something that I couldn't do on my own? Like right now we've got some house projects that I've been working on. We had two bathrooms that have been out for like months, and I've been repairing them. We had some stuff we had done because I just couldn't do it, repairing drainage systems and stuff like that in the house. But I know for me, if I know, if I can see evidence that something is going to save me, we're busy, we got kids, we got schedules and all this stuff. If something that's going to save me the time of, maybe I'd be able to get to something on my own, but I just don't have enough time, that's worth something to me. Same with being able to connect with somebody who knows, say it's the home project stuff, like someone who's an expert at craftsmanship and making home repairs. I mean, that's valuable to me. So I think, like you were saying, it's hard to say, if you're not familiar with, or you can't grasp the things that the value that will come from a group like the Stretched Men group, there's things that are kind of intangible too, I think, as far as if you're trying to figure out what direction to go, there's a level of stress there. It can become almost like a health issue where I've gone months where something's really weighing on me. I can feel it affect other areas of my life. I'm not as productive at work, and then I come home and maybe I'm stressed with my kids and my wife because, all this stuff, and it just kind of heaps up. Whereas hey, if I could, if I could have this thing over here, it could help all these things kind of level out, and I could find some clarity, some peace, and rest better, healthier. So I think when you can see it in those terms, I think it's a whole different picture.
Yeah, so this isn't a new concept. This is actually the second mastermind group I'm launching, and I did one in the fall with a couple of guys, one from Georgia and one from California. So we were able to make that work time schedule wise. But one of the things that I loved is watching these guys take steps and process through some of the things they needed to process through related to their careers and related to how they were spending their time. Both of the guys in the group made very strong commitments and took action to be more present in their houses with their kids and their wives as a result of being part of the group. And I think that's, that sounds easy to do, but the reality is it's not. I mean, we've all got busy schedules. We've all got things that are competing for our attention and our time. And it was just, I think when you're going to put down $97 a month for 3 months, you're going to want to make sure you follow through on what you're going to commit to. And these guys really stepped up to the plate. The one guy really made some decisions about next steps in his career, and he dropped a lot of things. The other thing I love about his story is that he really made some new commitments to follow his faith. He had grown up in a Christian home, but had kind of been remote from it since he was a late teen. And now as a dad, he's realizing the importance of raising his kids and introducing them to God. And so he took some significant steps over the course of the 3 months to make that more of a reality in his life and for his family. The other guy, he was just busy doing 100 things in a million different directions. And he stepped back and he gave up a lot of that. He was running a podcast. He was doing some other stuff. And I'm fairly certain he's going to jump back into that at some point. But he realized that he needed to put that on hold so that he could really focus on plugging into God and plugging into his kids. And it's just really cool, to watch that happen over the last 3 months.
Wow, that's amazing.
So I'm looking forward to that opportunity to encourage, to facilitate some of that discussion as we start this new mastermind group in January. And the kind of the way the typical meeting works. So we meet every 2 weeks, and we meet a little bit later in the evening because that allows the West Coasters to still plug into the group. It allows the East Coasters to be awake, but maybe be past some of their family responsibilities, and to just have an hour and a half together where I teach for 10 to 15 minutes on a topic related to being a better man. And then we open it up to a hot seat. So if it was, Shawn, if you were part of the group, you would have your turn on the hot seat, and you would bring an issue that you were struggling with or something that you wanted help processing to the group. And maybe, like for an example, maybe it would be boundaries with technology and your kids. And so,
that's a big one.
Yeah, it is a big one. We didn't have to deal with that when we were kids, right? Our parents just threw us outside and said, go run around and be back before dinner, right?
Just disconnect the Atari until your homework's done. That was
That's right. We were living large with the Atari. Yeah. Actually, I don't think we ever had one of those at our house, but at any rate, I digress. But technology is a big deal, and so, parents have different approaches to how they're going to handle that in their homes. And I think it's neat to be able to bang ideas off of other men to see what makes sense, what doesn't make sense, and maybe challenge you, if that was your issue, to take some action towards changing your family tree. The whole Dave Ramsey line about changing your family tree, he does that financially, but hopefully we're doing that in other ways as well through our conversation.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I think the hot seat thing especially is really special. I mean, there's a group of guys I get together with on Friday mornings, and when there's a need that's pressing on one of us, and you can really just, we have an openness and a ability to just share and get honest feedback. And when that's been me I've really felt like, I've left those mornings and had, renewed, okay, I might have come in there pretty in a cloud, not sure what to do. And there's a real power with being able to be heard. A lot of times men, you just can't be heard because either you don't want to share things or we're just men, and men aren't really good listeners sometimes. So like to be able to be heard and then have someone listen who can then feed that back to you and something that's valuable like that, I think is really, really important.
Well, it's a few days later. We had to interrupt our video call, video interview here because of some family obligations that were going on. And I guess that's a good thing because we both feel that our families are a big priority for us.
Yeah.
But I wanted to make sure that we had a chance to finish the conversation and then get it out for people to listen to. Really appreciate you jumping on the line initially, but then hopping back on tonight for us to finish up this call, Shawn.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
First of all, how was your Christmas?
It was good. Yeah, it was great. I always love this time of year. It's tough because, the balance of, to me, it's a really meaningful time with my faith, but things get crazier and crazier, in our culture, and just, I sometimes feel that weight of, even with gifts you're going to give, I want to give meaningful gifts, whether it's with our kids or your spouse or, whoever. And
your college friends.
Yeah, any of those. So, but it was good. I love having that time off and, getting to just kind of hang and get more time to spend with everyone. So how about you?
Yeah, it was good. We visited my parents in Dallas, Texas, and we just got back, I guess, yesterday, early morning. And then I had yesterday off, but then I ended up going into the office for a day to close out the month and the quarter. It was good. It was hard in some respects too. My parents are kind of going through some challenges with my mom's health and some decisions about moving, and it's just hard. I guess we feel like we're stuck in the sandwich generation a little bit here, where we're starting to worry a little bit more about our parents and haven't fully launched our kids yet. So it's an interesting time of life, but overall it was good. It was nice to be with them. It stinks because I live up in the Philadelphia area, and Dallas is not an easy commute, either financially or just time wise. So we appreciate those times that we have together.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm glad you guys got that.
So when we finished up, last time we were talking a little bit about our experience on the hot seat and how the hot seat was part of the mastermind group, the Stretch Men group. But it's also been an experience that you've had, and I know that I've had in some of the small group settings that we've been to. And you were sharing about how valuable those experiences on the hot seat were for you, and just useful in helping you to become the man that you need to be with whatever issue that you brought up when you were on the hot seat. And I know that that's been my experience as well. One of the things that I know I wanted to talk about, and I'll stop jiggling the table here, but I wanted to talk about a little bit was about who the Stretch Men group was for. And I know that you and I have had a lot of conversations about that. I don't know if you want to chime in on some of your thoughts, and I'll close that part of that up a little bit. Based on what I've shared with you, who do you think the Stretch Men group is for?
When I think about the concept and having that, what you're seeking to do with it, for me, like being involved with so many dads, with All Pro Dads and other things and coaching and kids sports and stuff, like I think the dad, when I think of, say, on the fatherhood side, the dad who, maybe you're a new dad. I know when I was a new dad, like you can read all the books you want, but until you come home with that newborn baby and you realize that it's your responsibility, it can be kind of overwhelming. So like, anywhere from there to, like you're saying, anytime you kind of go in these new stages where you got kid going off to college. My boys are entering teenage years and stuff. And I think just to be able to have that personal connection that's more than just, a book I can read or any kind of like I say, there's a ton of resources out there, but to be able to bounce ideas off someone who's been a little farther down the road, and, can offer not only their own expertise like you will, but also having other guys in the group that are either ahead or behind you, where you can each share your ideas and thoughts, and everyone comes from a different perspective too, with your own upbringing and what were your parents like and stuff like that. So I think that, on that front from the fatherhood side, but also just I think a lot of parenting is based on your marriage relationship too. So like I'm always trying to reevaluate how I'm doing as a husband, and I always find that when I interact with friends, where we can talk about that, they always have great ideas on, hey, have you tried this, or here's something we use that helps with communication or whatever. And that's so foundational to, our kids and what they see. And so, yeah, I think just, anyone, I guess I would say any guy who doesn't feel like he's got it all together, because someone like that wouldn't see a need for a group so I think, those people can do what they need, but for the rest of us, which I would say is most of us, who realize like, hey, we need some help, this kind of group that I think that would really, kickstart that.
Yeah, I think you're right on there. We certainly don't. I have not met a guy who has it all together. At least not that I can think of. I can think of some people who have definitely been role models for me, but I know that they still have issues and things that they can work on to become better men. One of the things that I found cool the first time around that we did this in the fall is that, I shared initially that during the teaching time, I would be speaking from a biblical worldview, a biblical perspective. There's no faith requirement, profession of faith requirement to join the group, but there should be an understanding that there will be kind of that biblical perspective that's kind of injected into the conversation. And it was neat to see a couple of the guys who were in the group. One was somebody who had grown up in the church, but then had been distant from it for a while. And he was really seeing this group as an opportunity to springboard his family into searching for a church and getting plugged back into his faith. And he really has taken some great steps where he's spending time in the morning praying and reading God's word and things like that, things that he was not doing before he joined the group. But then there's another guy who is really just on fire for God, and still he needed some things. He needed a group like this to work on some things that he was struggling with. And he made some conscious decisions to really trim down some of the activities that he had been involved in so that he could really concentrate on being in his family. And he did that from, intentional thoughts from a faith perspective. So I think it's important for me to share that, because I don't want people to come into the group thinking that, hey, this is just, a dad group for anybody. I want you to understand, if you're thinking about this, I want you to be part of it. But I also want you to know that, I may push you or encourage you along in your faith journey as well. And I just think that that's an important part of being a dad and a man and a husband. And it would be remiss of me if I didn't mention that.
Yeah, I think that's really important. I mean, I know for me, we share the same faith, and even when I've interacted with, I work at a company that's faith-based, but they do a really great job of saying like, hey, this is what that means. The Bible has so much in there, wisdom for, how to be a dad, how to be a father, husband, how to be a man. There's a lot of good examples, and it's not about, no one has to come out a some certain way, but I think what you're sharing is coming from a solid, foundation that anyone's going to benefit from.
I think I think it's probably important for us as we wrap up our conversation to talk about what the next steps are, so that anybody who's watching this video and they've made it this far, congratulations, that you understand what you could do to take some next steps and find out more about the group and even sign up for the group. So let's talk about that for a few minutes. I have a brand new website that I really am excited to share. And part of the reason I'm excited to share it is that the guy who really helped to create that website is on the other line here of this interview. And it's a fantastic site. I think it really captures what we're trying to do with the Stretched Men group, at least as far as an initial introduction. The site is www.stretchedmengroup.com. And I would encourage you to go and check that out if you are listening and you've made it this far. There's a sign up block in there. I think there's one at the top of the site and one at the bottom of the site. You just put your name in there and your email address. It does not hold you to joining the group or anything like that. It simply allows me to reach out to you and set up a phone conversation where we can talk and learn a little bit more. I can answer your questions. I can share a little bit more about what my vision is and my dream is for it. And we can see if you're a good fit for the group, and you can see if I'm a good fit for you and your next steps. So once you do that, I would reach out to you and we'd schedule a one-on-one conversation for probably about half an hour, maybe a little bit longer, just to talk about what things are going on. I would, as part of that action plan, call to action, I would encourage you to pray about it if you're considering this. It is a 3-month commitment, so it's not for the rest of your life. But I do understand, we're talking about $97 a month for $3 or for 3 months. And hey, finances are tight when you're running a family. I get that. But I do believe that there's a lot of value in stepping up, being willing to make that sacrifice. And then from there, after our conversation, it would basically be a commitment from you to join the group for 3 months. If you decided to go with it, I would send you an invoice for the initial month. And once you paid that invoice, you would be locked into the group. Your space would be reserved. If you wait too long and the spots fill up, I can hold your name for the next group that'll start up hopefully later in the spring. Does that capture kind of what we had talked about?
Yeah, I think so. As we were talking, it's here we are. It's like a couple of days before the new year, and I know one thing that comes to mind. I've been bombarded this week. I'm bombarded by emails about everything New Year related with fitness and all the stuff you usually hear about. And the one thing that came to mind when you're talking about the fee and everything, like, I'm sure there's plenty of guys out there who will, one of their New Year's resolutions is going to be, maybe it's weight loss or fitness or whatever. And like, if you were to go, if that's your goal and you're going to go and get some fitness trainer, you're going to get somebody who you're paying them because they know how to get you in the shape that you want to get in. And I think I've watched you long enough, aside from us being friends, I've watched you in your blog and just read, I've read your book and all these things. And you are that kind of guy. You're that kind of trainer when it comes to fatherhood and just man stuff from that standpoint. So I think it's the same kind of idea. It's like, okay, this is your goal. You want to really grow and get stretched as a man in your role there, that's what you're providing. And it's the same, if you can kind of relate it that way, it's a little easier to see if you're going to go to some gym and have someone teach you how to lift weights or whatever in a way that's going to help you gain muscle mass or lose weight. You're providing the same kind of thing along the fatherhood front. So, I think as people would get to know you, especially if they just sign up and have that call with you, I think they'll really get a feel for your heart for them and wanting them to grow. And I think, I would encourage anyone to take that step, just to chat with you and see, maybe this is the right thing for them.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I appreciate that. I think that you're right. This is a time where people set goals. And what more important goal could there be than trying to make yourself a better man for your family and for your wife and kids and just your whole being. And I think that the price on there that we've talked about is very reasonable, and it also puts some skin in the game so that you want to move forward and take action on what we talk about. So I'm looking forward to those conversations. I'm hoping that this video will give some people just some ideas about what to expect as part of this group. And if it doesn't fully answer them, answer your questions related to the group, I'd love to talk to you and fill in some of the blanks. So thank you so much, Shawn. I think that this may be something we have to do again.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun.
Who knows? Maybe we'll have a John and Shawn podcast or something someday, huh? So I guess we should wrap it up for now. And I just want to thank you, Shawn. And for anybody out there who's looking for a creative guy to help with their endeavors, I would encourage you to check out Shawn and what he's doing over at washburnwriter.com.
Thanks, John.
Any plug, any other connection where they can reach you, Shawn?
That's the website. That's kind of my main place to connect with people. You'll see there's a sign up place just to send me information about what you're looking for. But yeah, I do a lot of work with people like yourself and other small businesses, especially, or just friends, whoever, creative writing, creative just marketing or ideas. Sometimes it's just looking at something and seeing what kind of ideas we can come up with and how we can spur that on. So it's fun.
Cool. Well, thank you. And again, please go check out www.stretchedmengroup.com. Sign up and let's get connected. Let's have a conversation. Look forward to talking to you.